Before he became a global phenomenon, Paul Hogan was, in his own words, just a knockabout bloke from a working-class background. Born and raised in Sydney, Australia, his early life was about as far removed from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood as you could possibly imagine. We're talking about a guy who spent his days scaling the dizzying heights of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, not wielding a Hollywood script but a paintbrush. Hogan wasn't exactly born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He learned the value of hard graft early, and that down-to-earth attitude would later become a key ingredient in his on-screen persona. He wasn't some classically trained actor with years of dramatic training. He was just a bloke with a quick wit and an uncanny ability to make people laugh. This was his secret weapon. The spark for his comedic career ignited almost by accident. Picture this. It's the early 1970s, and Australia has a talent show called New Faces. Forget the polished, hyper-produced singing competitions we see today. This was raw, unpredictable, and authentically Australian. Hogan, never one to shy away from a bit of cheeky banter, decided to give it a go. He wasn't exactly your typical contestant. Instead of singing a song or performing a rehearsed sketch, he simply strolled onto the stage and started making fun of the judges. Yes, you heard that right. He took the mickey out of the very people who were supposed to be judging him. It was audacious, it was irreverent, and it was absolutely hilarious. The audience erupted in laughter. Hogan wasn't just funny, he was relatable. He was the guy you'd find having a laugh at the pub, not some distant, untouchable celebrity. The gamble paid off. He went from a bridge painter to a national television personality almost overnight. His unexpected success led to The Paul Hogan Show, a comedy program that quickly became a national institution. Every week, Hogan served up sketches brimming with that unmistakable Aussie humor. He wasn't trying to be sophisticated or highbrow. He was simply reflecting everyday Australian life in a funny and relatable way. He poked fun at authority, lampooned social conventions, and generally took the mickey out of everything and everyone. People loved it. In a world where comedy often felt distant and aloof, Hogan was refreshingly authentic. By the mid-1980s, Hogan wasn't just a TV star. He was a national icon. His image was everywhere, and he was called upon to promote Australia on the world stage. Remember those iconic tourism campaigns? Come and say g'day and put another shrimp on the Barbie? That was Hogan. Those simple, yet incredibly effective slogans, combined with Hogan's natural charisma, turned him into an international ambassador for Australia, drawing millions of tourists to the land down under. Yet, despite his growing fame, Hogan remained remarkably grounded. His friends and colleagues often said that fame hadn't changed him. He was still the same working-class bloke from Sydney who could crack a joke at the drop of a hat, far more comfortable in jeans and a t-shirt than a tuxedo. But Hogan harbored a bigger ambition. He wanted to create a film that captured the true Australian spirit and shared it with the world. This dream eventually materialized as Crocodile Dundee. Co-written by Hogan himself, the film drew inspiration from outback legends and, of course, his trademark humor. It was a gamble. Hollywood wasn't exactly clamoring for a movie about a bushman from the Northern Territory. But Hogan believed in the project, and his faith paid off spectacularly. When Crocodile Dundee premiered in 1986, it took the world by storm. Audiences fell in love with Mick Crocodile Dundee, the rugged but good-hearted bushman who could handle crocodiles as easily as he could charm city slickers. The film turned Paul Hogan from a national comedian into a global superstar. Awards, interviews, and red carpets followed, but at its core, it was still the same old Hogan, authentic, humorous, and just a little bit cheeky. But Crocodile Dundee didn't just redefine Hogan's career. It also set the stage for a dramatic shift in his personal life. It was on the set of this iconic film that he met Linda Kozlowski, the American actress who would become the co-star of his greatest love story and his greatest scandal. Linda, a relative unknown at the time, was cast as Sue Charlton, the American, journalist who finds herself swept off her feet by Mick Dundee's rugged charm. Their on-screen chemistry was undeniable, a vital ingredient in the film's massive success. But that chemistry wasn't just acting, it was real. From the moment they met, Hogan and Kozlowski shared a connection that was palpable to everyone on set. They just clicked. Their banter felt natural, their interactions effortless. Linda saw past the emerging celebrity and connected with the down-to-earth man beneath. Hogan, in turn, was drawn to Linda's refreshing honesty and her genuine appreciation for who he was. Their on-screen romance mirrored their growing connection off-screen, blurring the lines between fiction and reality. However, there was a major complication. Paul Hogan was already married. He was still with Nolene Edwards, his wife of over 2 decades and the mother of his 5 children. Their relationship had weathered its share of storms, including a previous divorce and remarriage. But by the time Crocodile Dundee was in production, things were once again strained. Linda's arrival brought a new dimension to the situation. The undeniable chemistry between Hogan and Kozlowski ignited a firestorm of media speculation and ultimately led to the breakdown of Hogan's marriage. The love story that captivated audiences on the silver screen was about to spill over into real life, creating a scandal that would rock Australia and redefine Paul Hogan's public image forever. As the dust settled on Hogan's divorce from Nolene, the media spotlight only intensified, focusing now on his budding relationship with Linda Kozlowski. What had initially been scandalous speculation soon morphed into a full-blown media obsession. Every date, every outing, every public appearance was dissected and analyzed, fueling a narrative of a fairy tale romance born out of betrayal. It was a relentless barrage that made building a life together incredibly difficult. Despite the constant scrutiny, Paul and Linda persevered, solidifying their bond and eventually tying the knot in 1990. For Hogan, it was a fresh start, a chance to rebuild and redefine his personal life after years of turbulence. For Linda, it was a complete transformation, trading the relative anonymity of a rising actress for the constant glare of the spotlight as the wife of an international icon. The marriage brought a sense of stability to their lives, but the pressure never truly dissipated. They sought refuge in their work, collaborating again on Crocodile Dundee 2 and Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. While the sequels enjoyed some success, they never quite captured the magic of the original, and the weight of expectation began to take its toll, particularly on Linda's career. In 1998, their lives took another significant turn with the birth of their son, Chance. Becoming a father again at 58 brought a new dimension to Hogan's life, a renewed sense of purpose and commitment. Fatherhood this time around offered Hogan a chance to be more present, more involved, and to share the joys of parenthood with Linda. With Chance in the picture, the couple attempted to balance their Hollywood careers with the demands of family life. They split their time between Australia and Los Angeles, eventually settling in Venice Beach, California, seeking a somewhat more relaxed environment to raise their son. Linda, in particular, made significant sacrifices for their family. Her acting career, once full of promise, gradually took a back seat as she prioritized raising Chance and supporting Hogan's career. It's a decision many women face, balancing personal ambition with the demands of motherhood and partnership. While she appeared content, the subtle tensions inherent in such a choice would later contribute to the strains on their marriage. Life in Hollywood was a constant balancing act. Red carpets, premieres, and celebrity events were part of the package. But behind the carefully constructed public image, Paul and Linda tried to cultivate a sense of normalcy. They valued their privacy, seeking refuge in quiet evenings at home, intimate gatherings with close friends, and simple family outings away from the prying eyes of the paparazzi. They were often photographed together, smiling and seemingly happy, but the reality was far more complex. The pressures of Hollywood, the weight of fame, and the challenges of maintaining a private life in the public eye all took their toll. Linda, in particular, struggled with the constant scrutiny, the lack of privacy, and the feeling of being defined solely as Mrs. Paul Hogan. The expectations were enormous. The world had invested in their fairy tale romance, and there was an unspoken pressure to maintain the illusion of perfection. They were expected to be the happy couple, the embodiment of a Hollywood dream come true. It was a heavy burden to bear, and one that ultimately proved unsustainable. Navigating Hollywood's intricate social landscape presented its own set of challenges. The constant competition, the superficiality, and the ever-present pursuit of fame. And fortune clashed with their desire for a simple, authentic life. They found themselves caught between two worlds, the glitz and glamour of Hollywood and the down-to-earth values they had brought with them from Australia. Maintaining a sense of identity and individuality within a high-profile marriage was also a constant struggle. Paul Hogan was, and always would be, Crocodile Dundee, a larger-than-life figure recognized and celebrated worldwide. Linda, on the other hand, often found herself in his shadow, her own accomplishments and aspirations overshadowed by his fame. It's a common dynamic in celebrity relationships, and one that can create resentment and imbalance over time. Their relationship was a constant negotiation, a delicate dance between public image and private reality. They tried to shield their son from the pressures of fame, to create a sense of normalcy and stability in his life. But it was an uphill battle, and the cracks in their relationship began to widen as the years passed. The fairy tale, once so captivating to the world, began to unravel behind closed doors, hidden from the cameras and the relentless scrutiny of the media. By the time Paul Hogan and Linda Kozlowski announced their separation in 2013, the news landed with a thud, a mixture of shock and, perhaps, a quiet sense of inevitability. For decades, they had been the couple. They'd weathered media storms, raised their son, Chance, and built a life that seemed plucked from a Hollywood fairy tale. To the outside world, they were Dundee and Sue, forever intertwined. But behind the carefully curated image, the cracks had been widening, almost imperceptibly, for years. The official statement was a masterclass in diplomacy, painting their split as amicable and stressing their commitment to co-parenting Chance. There was no mudslinging, no scandalous accusations, a stark contrast to Hogan's first, very public, divorce. But those in their inner circle knew the decision hadn't been easy. After more than 2 decades, the spark, the initial inferno of passion that had drawn them together amidst chaos and controversy had gradually dwindled. Companionship had taken its place, and eventually, distance. Linda, in later interviews, hinted at the growing gulf between their desires. She yearned for a simpler, more adventurous existence, far removed from the Hollywood circus. Paul, on the other hand, remained anchored to California, still bound to the entertainment industry and the enduring legacy of Crocodile Dundee. "I got sick of living in LA and I missed having a real life," she confessed, the weight of unspoken sacrifices evident in her voice. The glitz and glamour had lost their luster. She craved something authentic, something grounded. The divorce was finalized in 2014. Unlike the acrimony of Hogan's past, this separation was marked by a quiet sadness. They divided their assets, established a co-parenting arrangement for Chance, and embarked on their separate paths. For Linda, that meant embracing a new chapter in Morocco, where she transformed an old riad into a luxurious guest house, a haven for travelers seeking tranquility and a taste of the exotic. For Hogan, it meant remaining in his Venice Beach home, surrounded by memories of a shared past, a life they had painstakingly constructed together. He rarely spoke about the breakup publicly, a stoic silence that only fueled speculation. But, in unguarded moments, the pain seeped through. Here he was, in his 70s, facing singlehood once more, grappling with the familiar sting of lost love. Friends said he threw himself into being a dad to chance, trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy amidst the turmoil. But the story, their story, was inescapable. To fans, to the ever-watchful media, the love affair between Hogan and Kozlowski had always been larger than life. The dissolution of their marriage felt like the final act in a drama that had captivated the world since 1986, the closing of a chapter that many found heartbreaking. The fairy tale, once so vibrant, had simply ended. Even in separation, their lives remained inextricably linked. The shared responsibility of raising Chance ensured they remained in contact. Paparazzi occasionally captured glimpses of them together in Los Angeles, sparking fleeting rumors of a rekindled romance, rumors they consistently dismissed. Yet Hogan freely admitted that Linda remained one of the most important people in his life. Beneath the surface of heartache and regret, a deep, enduring affection persisted, a love that decades couldn't erase. Hogan, ever the reluctant romantic, offered glimpses of his enduring feelings for Linda in rare, reflective moments. In one interview, he confessed that she would always be known to him as the love of my life, words laden with both warmth and regret. Fame had brought him success, he acknowledged, but Linda had given him joy, a simple truth that time and circumstance couldn't diminish. And even after their marriage ended, fate wasn't quite finished with them. Years later, whispers began to circulate, rumors of a quiet reunion, a rekindling of the flame that had once burned so brightly. In 2018, paparazzi photos surfaced, showing the former couple walking side by side in Venice Beach. There was no visible tension, no awkwardness, only a comfortable familiarity that spoke volumes. Had they reconciled? Were they secretly rebuilding what had been lost? They remained tight-lipped, offering no official confirmation or denial. Hogan, now in his late 70s, had become increasingly private, shying away from the spotlight. Linda, too, seemed content to let the world speculate. When pressed about her relationship with Hogan, she would simply smile enigmatically, offer a vague, "We'll always be connected," and deftly change the subject. That connection, however, was undeniable. Chance remained their common ground, and both Hogan and Kozlowski frequently reunited for family milestones, celebrations tinged with both nostalgia and affection. Close friends hinted that the old spark hadn't completely disappeared. "They've been through too much together to ever completely walk away," one confidant revealed to the press. In 2021, Hogan's declining health became a matter of public concern. He appeared frail, openly acknowledging that age and chronic back pain were taking their toll. For fans, it was a stark reminder that even the seemingly invincible Crocodile Dundee was mortal. And as Hogan faced these challenges, Linda was never far away. Reports emerged that she had quietly reconnected with him, not just as a co-parent, but as a friend, a source of comfort and support. In 2023, a Daily Mail article confirmed what many had suspected for years. Hogan and Kozlowski were spending more time together, rekindling a closeness that had once seemed irrevocably lost. While neither publicly declared a full romantic reconciliation, their actions spoke volumes. Linda was there, by Hogan's side, her presence a silent testament to a bond that had weathered the storms of scandal, fame, and heartbreak. Then, on his 85th birthday in 2024, Paul Hogan finally broke his silence, giving an interview that resonated deeply with fans around the world. Reflecting on his life, his career, and his relationships, he made a confession that erased all lingering doubts. "Linda," he said softly, his voice tinged with emotion, "was the love of my life. She always was. It wasn't mere nostalgia, a wistful longing for a bygone era. It was a man nearing the end of his journey, acknowledging a profound truth that he had kept hidden for too long. It was a testament to the enduring power of love, a recognition that some connections transcend time, distance, and even divorce. There was regret, perhaps, for what might have been, but also a deep gratitude for the years they had shared, the memories they had created. Life had taken them down different paths. Choices had been made, but the love, the deep, abiding affection, remained. For fans, it was a sense of closure, the final chapter in a saga that had captivated them for decades. The story of an Aussie icon, a scandalous romance, a Hollywood marriage that seemed destined for perfection, only to unravel in a heartbreaking divorce. But Hogan's confession reframed the narrative, transforming it from a tale of celebrity heartbreak into a story of enduring love, a love that survived even separation. To Linda, those words must have meant a great deal. She had carved out her own path, pursued her own dreams, sought independence beyond the shadow of Crocodile Dundee. She, too, had once acknowledged that Hogan was one in a million. Their love had been forged in defiance of convention, geography, and public opinion. Perhaps it was never meant to conform to the Hollywood fairy tale ideal, but it was meant to endure, to resonate in memories, in connection, and in the depths of the heart. At 85, Paul Hogan offered no easy answers, no contrived. Happy endings, only the simple, unvarnished truth. And in doing so, he gave fans one more unforgettable chapter in the story they had been following for almost 4 decades. In the end, Paul Hogan's confession wasn't just about Linda, it was a confession about the enduring power of love, a reminder that some connections transcend time, distance, and even the most carefully crafted Hollywood narratives.